tragedy of slavery cannot be overstated. Taking all one's agency, grim futures anticipated. Lyrana, sweet of heart, did not comprehend how traumatic her request would be for her new friend. New friend.
383 years before the current era.
Had the leadership of Estolia wished it, the palace could have become one of the great wonders of the ancient world. Along with the temple and the cathedral, the three great buildings took nearly 300 years to construct. They were constructed entirely without the use of slaves. It was a labor of love, the love each Estolian had for their deity and for their descendants who would benefit for years without number. History of Estolia. Meredith Zakarian.
Rialto sent for his twin nephews. A look at the record indicated they would be 30 in a few days. He had to discuss the near future with them. He decided to leave his office and go out to the front steps of the temple. He often went out and looked at the large cat statues, finding inspiration and sometimes solace in their rigid feline features. The two boys arrived on the back of one of the carts. They thanked the husband of the chief cook for his courtesy in bringing them to the temple. They climbed the 10 temple steps swiftly. Soon all three were staring at the large cat statues. Rialto was about to say something when they heard horses being ridden hard. Garrison was racing towards them, leading 2 saddled horses. He leaped off his horse.
"A slave ship has foundered at Pirate's End,"
he announced, out of breath, holding the horses. Rialto went to mount but was stopped by Tremaine.
"Uncle, it is not your fight."
Knowing the wisdom of his nephew was sound, Rialto gestured for them to go. He was not yet 60 years of age, but his brother was. Garrison, Tremaine, and Antiochus mounted the 3 horses and raced in the direction of the small township of Pirate's End. He looked in the direction of the harbor. His nephews were riding to meet their destiny. With a decisive nod, he turned to the nearest acolyte and said,
"Ring the bells, rouse the guard, to horse!"
While they lived safely within the cloak of obscurity promised by deity, no sovereign of Estolia ever relaxed their diligent care for the nation. Armed guards had repelled the few infiltrations by the curious. It was an accepted axiom that deity would provide only for a nation that was wise in its use of deity's blessings. Shania waded through the water, partially filling the cargo hold, trying hard to get to Lyrana's side. The shackles binding her ankles made navigating the dark hold nearly impossible, but she persevered. Tears of pain and fear were streaming down her face when she finally reached where Lyrana was tied to the side of the cargo hold. Shania's breath left her in a wail of despair, seeing the streamers of golden hair in the water. A moment later hope leapt within her when she heard a gasping cough. Lyrana was alive, barely holding her face above the heaving surface of the water. Shania took a deep breath, and then breathed into Lyrana's mouth for her, then held her hand over her mouth so she could assess the situation. She had a sturdy iron bar. She would break the shackles if necessary. Diving under the water, she felt along her lady's legs to the shackles holding her almost fully submerged, until she came to where they were fastened. Desperately she pushed the iron bar into the bracket and used all her strength to try to pry it free. Feeling as if it was hopeless, she was ready to surface when strong, masculine hands joined hers, lending her strength, and in moments the bracket came free, releasing Lyrana's chains. Pushing off the bottom of the cargo hold, Shania surfaced and took a deep, gasping breath before looking around for her lady. She was coughing and sputtering above the surface of the water. There were many more individuals in the cargo hold than a few moments before, large burly men freeing those slaves and captives who were not yet drowned. She waded to her lady's side, wondering what new dangers they would face next. A beautiful voice distracted her, and she looked for the source. For a moment she thought she was seeing double. 2 identical men, both with dark hair, were standing next to one another, beckoning to them. Shania and Lyrana followed them out of the stinking cargo hold, blinking in daylight which had been denied them for nearly 2 weeks. Others, dressed like the men who freed them, were fighting the last of the slave traders. Most of them were dead or dying. She felt a sense of superiority, to be alive while those who imprisoned them were dead. The ship was in a sweeping natural harbor. Several ships blocked the only possible avenue of escape. Armed men on horseback and on foot were arriving. The women and children from the other cargo hold were standing, stunned, on the shore. The men led them over to a pair of white horses. A giant of a man was holding their bridles, and the bridle of a much larger black horse, obviously his own steed. He smiled at the two women. Shania looked back at the beach, the foundered ship, the dead, dying, and rescued. The same lyrical tongue was being used all around her. What language were they using? Perhaps Liarana, who had more learning, could speak this unknown language?
Once enslaved by men depraved, understanding dawn, she had done this to her friend. Now they both faced untidy ends, shackled in the pirate's hold, amongst the other captive maidens, waiting to be chattel sold, goods upon a ship overladen.